Baby in the background hopefully won't be too much of a distraction. Hi guys, this is Connie. We're going to do Connie Reads the Dogs of Winter. This is chapter 34, titled Hunting. They led me along narrow trails crisscrossed with animal tracks. They led me across one meadow and then another. They led me across a stream, past a pond. The narrow trail grew wider and then met a gravel road. The gravel road curved this way and that. It crossed a stone bridge littered with leaves and empty acorn shells. Something big startled at our passing and bounced away into the forest. We loped along the gravel road for a long time. My legs trembled from hunger. I stopped. The wind blew and rain pattered the puddles in the road. I can't, I sobbed. I can't go anymore. Lucky leaned into my legs and licked my hands. Smoke barked up ahead. There was no sympathy in his bark, only a command. Finally, the gravel road stopped. A black-topped road crossed in front of us. A road that hissed with rain and cars. I swayed on my feet and shivered. When the road was clear of cars, the dogs dashed across. What could I do but follow? We trotted along footpaths. Here there were signs of people, aluminum cans, glass, and plastic bottles tossed to the side of the path, empty candy wrappers, and tufts of tissues. The trees thinned and then opened. I gasped. A huge wheel higher than a house loomed over us. Wooden seats dangled from the giant wheel. They swayed in the wind. The wind was still, or the wheel was still, but it didn't fool me. I clapped my hands. It's a Ferris wheel! You brought me to a Ferris wheel! I had seen them on television before. The dogs glanced up at the wheel with little interest. They trotted across the puddle-strewn plaza, noses held high in the wind. Reluctantly, I followed. We passed a large pond. Ducks and geese huddled on the shore. We skirted a wooden stage and a scattering of tables and chairs. Sodden plastic bags hugged the chair and table legs. The dogs led me to rows of empty wooden stalls and stopped. They sniffed, and I sniffed. Food! I followed my nose behind the wooden stalls and a narrow, stinking shed to a large metal garbage bin. Delicious smells met my nose. My stomach groaned and burned. Lucky and Smoke looked from the garbage bin to me with pride. Oh, thank you, I said. But the garbage bin was tall and the metal slick. I jumped and jumped, but still could not reach the lip of the bin to pull myself. Victor's voice mocked me. Jump, little circus mouse. Then I remembered. Tables and chairs. I dashed back to the stage and grabbed a chair. I dragged it to the bin. I clambered up, pulled myself into the bin, and landed in a gloriously stinking pile of garbage. I stuffed bread into my mouth and pieces of half-eaten chicken. I ate and ate until my poor shrunken belly could hold no more. And still, there was so much food. I climbed back out of the bin and rescued 2 plastic bags. Lucky and Smoke watched with shining eyes as I filled the bags with cast-off food. With this, I could eat for days. This human park, this garbage bin, would be my hunting ground. The sun was setting as we crossed the last meadow to the place where we'd left the others. Rip yipped a happy greeting. He raced in circles around us, licking Lucky's mouth and face and my hands. Little Mother and the puppies crawled from under a shelter she had dug in the deep well beneath a sprawling evergreen. They sniffed and sniffed me all over. The puppies pulled at my sleeve. I laughed and pushed them away. I am not something to eat even though I smell like it, I said. I picked up Rip and kissed the top of his head. I am sorry I hit you, I whispered in his torn ear. Sometimes I am not the best boy. I took a piece of meat from my pocket that I had saved just for Rip and fed it to him. One of the puppies, the boy puppy, grabbed the bottom of one of the plastic bags and yanked. Food spilled out the bottom onto the wet ground. The dogs leapt upon the food. My food. No, I roared. It's mine! The dogs slunk away on their bellies. I stood over my food, Rip still in my arms, and growled. I flashed my teeth. They looked at me with round, piteous eyes. All but Smoke. He sat a few feet away and regarded me with cool amber eyes. I tied the bottom of the torn bag. I took off my tattered sweater and tied the arms in such a way as to create a cradle. I stepped away from the food on the ground. Okay then, eat, I said. All but Smoke ate in grateful gulps. Smoke watched with great curiosity as I climbed the wide branches of the evergreen and stashed the cradle of food. That night we all curled close together in the well beneath the bottom of the evergreen tree. It was dry there, despite the rain. The generous skirt of bottom branches provided a thick, lacy green roof. The puppies played with pine cones while Rip and Lucky slept against my legs. Little Mother washed and washed my face and ears and neck. I fell asleep to the rasp of her tongue, the tickle of her whiskers, and her warm, smelly, wonderful breath on my face. And just outside, in the glow of the rising moon, Smoke watched over us all, his pack, my family. The days grew steadily warmer and longer. The puppies grew by leaps and bounds. The dogs shed their winter coats, and I shed most of my clothes. The dogs hunted together and alone. There was plenty in the forest for them to eat. Rabbits, mice, squirrels, and the occasional bird. Their coats grew shiny and sleek. The shadow of ribs and angle of hip bones fell away. I quickly learned the rhythms of the park with the Ferris wheel. If I went there just after sunrise, workers were there, mowing and cleaning, setting up the chairs and tables, and emptying garbage cans. Every few days, a big truck came and emptied the metal bin I hunted in. If I came late at night after the park closed, shadow people crept into the park. They argued over things they took from their coat pockets. Gangs of crow boys came too, with their chains and knives. So I came in the time before sunrise, just before black gave way to gray. The dogs and I watched from the edge of the woods for shadow people and for crow boys. We knew after winter that no good could come from people. I searched the smaller garbage cans as well as the big metal bin. The big metal bin was for food. The smaller garbage cans were for treasures. Rubber bands, a kerchief, a plastic rain cap, a broken kite, and the greatest treasure of all, a knife. I often found matches or lighters, but after the glass house, I was afraid of fire. In the early part of that summer, the dogs discovered the egg ducks had laid by the big pond. I gathered up eggs for myself to eat. I loved their wonderful slippingness as they slid warm and rich down my throat like a small fat yellow sun. And that's the end of chapter 34. Be careful with that and enjoy, please and thank you, and I will see you for the next chapter. Have a great day. She's walking now. Isn't that great?